What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be discussing some of my own philosophical perspectives and points of views. So this is not to try to convince anybody that my views are superior to theirs or that they should believe what I believe. No, this is just my way of seeing the world, what works for me personally, and hopefully you enjoy it for maybe sheer entertainment or for expanding your beliefs or just listening to other people's beliefs. So here is the tea. Quite literally, this is a English breakfast that I bought in London. Very good. I was born in a fundamentalist religion. So my parents they weren't born in that religion, but that was what they chose to believe. And growing up as a minor here, you really don't have a choice. So you kind of have to believe what they believe, or you're taught that as truth, other than, you're not given the possibility of other beliefs that are out there. So they actually would, not my parents particularly, but the religion itself would kind of not allow the members of that religion to start researching other beliefs. And so I didn't until I was, of age. And that is when I started researching things for myself. I was a college student. I started seeing other perspectives out there that worked for me. So as a young child, it's not that I had ever questioned my faith, but it's just I didn't necessarily believe those things to be true. So it never really was my faith. And as I started getting older, I started realizing, what my own truths were. So I guess you can say I've always had a religious background. I don't consider myself a religious person. However, other people would beg to differ. So in college, started questioning things that I had learned from the Bible, started questioning the way things were. And that's when I started doing research on other thought beliefs and belief systems. So I started researching more thoughts in the East, such as Buddhism and Hinduism, and I found that Buddhism worked more along the lines of what I believed. So I started believing in reincarnation, whereas before I really wouldn't believe in it. And right before I found this belief, I was in this period in my life where I felt kind of helpless or depressed, not necessarily depressed, but I was down and out, right? I've been depressed in the past. This wasn't depression. This was more like I felt helpless, and I felt like as humans, we were so far off from other civilizations. So yes, I believe in alien civilization, life forms out there in the universe, because we know the universe is a very complex and enormous place. Just you think the Earth is enormous. I've tried to travel as much as I could in my short lifespan. And even in the world, it's hard to travel, everywhere. So think of this as a smaller, model of the universe itself, but much bigger that I can't even put into our English language. So with that being said, I felt kind of stuck in this primitive society that we can't even travel around through space. We can't even see what's beyond our, moon and maybe our solar system for sure. Much less the Milky Way and the other galaxies that surround it. So many galaxies. And I felt depressed by this, or not depressed, but maybe just, and when you start looking at, your life in terms of how minute and small, it can be scary. It can cause one to start questioning our purpose, or can we actually change, or are we actually, useful or meaningful, and does our life have meaning? So I started questioning, my life, and I started seeing it in terms of pointless, and maybe it was just, we were just a virus here on Earth. So thinking this way, of course, puts one in sort of a slump, sort of a, more negative way of seeing the world, less optimistic for sure. So then I got into this way of seeing things, and then that's shortly around near the time where I started believing in, reincarnation, and that we change bodies much like the way we change clothes. So before, I guess when I turned 16 and before, a few years before that, I used to have enormous periods of, not periods, but bouts of deja vu. And I would have these times where I couldn't explain why I felt like I was there before, why I felt like I was, seeing that. Why had I seen that before? Where have I seen it before? And well, when I started believing in reincarnation, it helped explain that in a way for me, because I realized that our spirit is not bound to this body. This body is just a tool or a device that is a part of the earth that allows us to experience life on earth through means of, this body. So when you look at the body like that and the spirit as something that is forever and continuous, then it gives us more meaning in life. So maybe we've each had 10 or 15 or 5 or 2 other human life on this earth. And humans are more similar, I have found, than different. And because of that, so maybe you've lived similar lifestyles in the past, but I think I'm going way out there. So let me come back for a second. I believe deja vu occurs because our spirit is not bound in itself. It's not bound to time, especially the linear time in which this body experiences reality. So we're born, we have our childhood, we are young adults, we're adults, we are old, and we die. So that's very linear, right? When we think back at our life, it is through that linear process. However, I believe the nature of time, the way that we as spirit beings experience time is more true to the infinity symbol, which is time. It is at all places at all times. So this is very difficult to explain in words, but it is not bound to any linear perspective. It isn't even circular. It goes everywhere at any time, at any moment. And as higher spiritual beings, we would be able to access. So when you're going through bouts of depression or bouts of being more negative or seeing the world as a more negative, reality, then it's helpful to put yourself into that perspective, as we are experiencing life on this planet that enables us to expand our experience as a spiritual being, that otherwise we wouldn't have this experience of seeing ourselves as so separate from everything, as separate from the whole. So a drop of water rather than the ocean itself, or a grain of sand rather than the entire perception of sand on the beach, or a single being in this beautiful cosmic organism, this beautiful cosmic happening, this energy that it is, that we are a part of, that we get to experience, that we get to see ourselves as separate from. So that's what our life on earth enables us to do. And before I understood the truth that I understand now, or how I see the world for myself, I used to, and other people used to confirm this, they used to believe that I was crazy. And they would try to give me medications to kind of numb down what I felt and the experiences that were happening to me. And it wasn't until later on that I realized, everything makes sense when I'm looking at it from my perceptions of what I know now, what I believe now, to what I believed back then. So it has helped me in that sense. So getting back to my beliefs, yes, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we're here to experience as many realities as necessary and as possible before we reach our enlightenment. So the nature of enlightenment for all is that all organic beings, a blade of grass, a bug, a cat, humans, everybody, everything that is alive and living will eventually reach enlightenment. And that is something beautiful that helped me realize everything has a purpose, everything has meaning, and everything is here to experience this perception, this reality that we call life on Earth, and many other lives on other realities, on other types of Earths. Okay, I'm going to stop using the word perception and try to stop using the word reality. So let's pick it up from there. I remember when I was younger, I used to always fear the death of those that I love. And I used to fear this death so much. But then I came across this one individual who is from India. He's Hindu. And he was relating a story. His name is Ishwar Puri. He was relating, well, that's how I say his name in English. Okay, so now we're in our backyard because it's a little bit easier to talk out here. So as I was saying, this individual was sharing a true story about how he lost his son. And most people, if you think about losing a loved one, the loss of a child is one of the most difficult things that as humans we can go through. So he's talking about losing his child, and I don't know if this is his only child, but losing his child and how he understood the nature of reincarnation so well and the nature of karma so well that it didn't even affect him. That in fact he could see his son and his karma as so clearly that he wasn't even sad because he understood where the spirit goes and how his son, that life of his child was finished, that particular life for his son was over and that a new one was beginning. And I found that as evidence and as proof that his faith was so strong, and it encouraged me to believe in that more and to want to understand, life the way he understood it. And from there on I started, devoting more time to it and meditating more and trying to pursue that belief more so that I could be at a level of understanding that he was on. And I had been vegetarian at that point already for 8 years. So I was 13 years old when I had changed from eating meat to not eating meat. So at 13, I had already become vegetarian and changed my lifestyle to a certain degree. And it was just so many things that were aligning with my new belief systems that encouraged my faith and encouraged me to, see that as something real and something true. So, again, that's just my beliefs on reincarnation. So we'll get into other parts of what I believe. Yeah. So at this time, my faith was pretty strong. I went through this period of pursuing enlightenment and trying to, rid all my desires. And I went through this a year or so, where I would just try to stop my own humanness, and I would stop trying to be human. And as Buddha went through this with certain monks, I reminded myself that I was born human, and there's nothing I could or should want to do to change that. And we can celebrate our humanness, but then there's a point where, as he says, that there's the middle way where we live not on either extreme, but we live in a way that enables us to be human and to see reality for what it is, the nature of reality. So don't get too stuck in certain perspectives or certain ways of living, like, overindulging and doing things, either way is bad. So if you overindulge in any one thing for your senses, or the other way, if you deprive yourself, he said both of those things will take you further away from truth. So we're human, so there's certain things we need, and it's best to just accept that, not to overindulge or to deprive yourself, but to just accept it and keep it in your mind. So if you're meditating and you're hungry, it's okay to go eat. If you have a certain urge, it's okay. We're human, that's fine. So the point is to just understand where you are and to, not push anything when it's not ready. So just live where you are, be here now, and accept your reality in that way. So again, be here now. Baba Ram Dass from Harvard, or the former Albert, I forget his name at the moment, but he also taught me so much in the book Be Here Now, and pushed me to want to learn more for myself. So I'll get into that as well in a future video. This one's already quite long, so I'll make a part 2 because there's so much information and I don't know where to start. Bye.